What is up, you guys? Navikan here, bringing you my perspective on what everything is bringing us, and welcome to another unfiltered discussion video. And for this discussion video, I'll be talking about the James Gunn's DC universe, and I'm not doing this alone. And I'm discussing this universe with three other people, and we'll start off with a returning member from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Brandon. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me again.
Yes, sir. And and the second person I'll introduce is another returning member from the Sonic discussion video, Carbs. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Thank you for having me back. I'm excited to talk about the discussion topic for today.
Yes, yes, of course. And the last person is new to the series. And this person is a huge fan of the DC animated universe. May I introduce you to Your Highness himself, King Jiggle the Fourth. How are you doing today?
Uh, Hello. I like Batman.
Yes, sir. All right, we're gonna go. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over the TV shows, and then after that we're gonna go over the movies. All right. So the first thing we're gonna discuss is Creature Commandos. So I actually don't know anything about Creature Commandos besides Weasel, who was in the Suicide Squad, and apparently one of the main characters is Rick Flags, his old man, Rick Flags Senior. Besides that, I don't know anything about Creature Commandos, so I'm gonna have to abstain. But I am. It is interesting that this is the very first DC Universe project they're gonna release next, which starting next year. But since since it is an animated series, I will check it out. But how all right, so I'm gonna give this to Brandon. Do you know anything about the Creature Commandos? If so, do you know what can we expect from them?
Well, I'm a little back. I'm more in line with the whole New Earth version of the Kusha Commandos. I know that they're from they were in operation during World War II, like a group of monsters, kind of like the Alien Commandos in Marvel. They were a group of monsters and freaks active during that time.
Yeah, aren't they based off of the Universal horror monsters?
Real.
Yeah, so some of them are even appearing in it. Like I'm pretty sure they had a Frankenstein, a werewolf, a cyborg, like monster. I think of the mummy as well, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Interesting. Well,
And I think this is a good choice to start off with for the like just to start off with the whole like it's kind of like laying groundwork really because originally like in DC continuity wise, the first superheroes started kind of appearing around the time of World War II, and chronologically with the whole Silver Age.
I see.
So I think this is a pretty good starting point.
Yeah, timeline wise, start off in World War II and then progress towards the modern day.
All right. All right. So and to you, Carbs, what can you expect from the Creature Commandos show?
Seeing as how the voice cast is being released slowly, and we get little details about the show as we progress through time, it's kind of interesting how James Gunn decided to start off the new DC universe with an animated TV show. It's a very broad move as well because we've never actually had something like this happen before in cinema history, where a whole universe of movies begin with a TV show. Specifically, for example, the MCU. It started off with the first Iron Man movie back in 2008, if I'm not correct. But all of the movies have been live action. There hasn't really been any animated TV shows or series until the first one that came out during COVID was What If. And honestly, What If was a pretty good series for the MCU, or at least in my opinion. A lot of people don't seem to like it, but it's a half and half between ratings from the audience members. But I like the show, and I find it interesting how it's still connected with the MCU, just in a new form of media. And it's going to be interesting to see the Creature Commandos start from animated and then move on towards live action. I can't wait to see that happen when it happens. And I like how it's a starting point for the DCU cinematic universe for, I'm guessing, their phase one of gods and monsters. It's gonna be pretty nice, and I can't wait.
All right. So with Creature Commandos out of the way, let's go and discuss the Amanda Waller show. So it has been confirmed that Davies will reprise her role as Amanda Waller, which is
and
which
that's great. She perfectly encapsulates the character of Amanda Waller in
yeah
her performances.
I agree. Yeah, she was perfect as Amanda Waller, it but the thing is like she was introduced in the 2016 Suicide Squad film, and I feel like since she's gonna reprise her role in the new film continuity, I feel like casual people are gonna be very confused by her appearance. That's just how I feel. But
I
since
mean,
it's
to be, to be fair, people have been ever since the announcement of this new cinematic universe for DC, people had already been kind of confused as to what would be from the previous DCEU, what would be brought over or not.
not
So it's not surprising to me that people would be confused about this.
yeah, I see. Well, as far as I know, it's going to be the first live action series in the DC universe. But yeah, I am looking forward to. I'm definitely looking forward to Amanda Waller's antics moving forward. How about you, Brandon? What can you expect from the Amanda Waller show?
Well, considering that the show is going to be in timeline wise, it's going to be in between Peacemaker season 1 and season 2. It's I'm expecting either it's going to go more in depth to her character backstory wise, considering Peacemaker season 1, how they introduced her and everything, or they're probably going to like go on like what her future plans are going to be happening in Peacemaker season 2. So that's kind of like my expectations on Amanda Waller.
I see. I see. So, oh yeah, they did. Oh yeah, they did say that the Amanda Waller show is going to be connected to Peacemaker. Yeah, that's been recently
Yeah,
announced.
exactly. So
Uh,
this is a reference to the recent comics run that's happening right now with Amanda Waller specifically being the big overarching villain of the whole Dawn of DC. Like she's getting ready to like kill off every superhero after the events of Dark Crisis on Infinite Earths. And I really like how
So yeah, they
Peacemaker
did.
is like a big part of the group. And, like Waller's just like running all the behind scenes of like what's happening throughout the whole DC universe, and Peacemaker's just there like to enforce the rule.
yep. Well, how about you, Carlos? Carbs. What can you expect from the Amanda Waller show?
Well, I really did like her performance in the Suicide Squad. And I also haven't seen Peacemaker yet, but I've seen some clips of it, and she did a good job in Peacemaker, and she's going to be referenced in it mostly in season 2. Then I can't wait to see her because the actress that portrays her is a pretty good actress, honestly. But yeah, I just can't. I'm just kind of confused on what the premise of her show is going to be, since we pretty much know what she does as her job and what he does in and what she does in the DCU. So hopefully we get more details on what the show itself is going to be about.
All right. How about you, Your Excellency? What can you expect from the Amanda Waller show? Uh,
I'm,
yep, King Jiggle.
I'm in agreement with the others. With the others, I do expect it to be to at least be entertaining. Since I do think Amanda Waller is a very entertaining character just because of how ruthless and well, frankly, evil she is. Because she is like comically evil with her devotion to her own ideals, and I find that not only interesting but very entertaining to watch and read as a fan of DC. So I do hope to see more of that.
All right. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is the Lantern Show. So, the fact that they're making it a series is interesting, but what I'm really excited about this show mainly is we're finally getting a live action interpretation of John Stewart. So I don't know if I don't know if y'all know this, but I grew up in the era where the DC animated universe was all over the place. So John Stewart, he was my Green Lantern. So I've been waiting for him to get to see him in a live action form. And we did get a Hal Jordan live action interpretation, but let's be real here. Does anyone even like that movie?
Yeah, we don't talk about that. Unfortunately, though, thanks to the whole live action DC Arrowverse, it's technically canon to the whole DC timeline. So
Damn. Well, all right. But well, in the Lantern Show, it's gonna be so both Hal Jordan and John Stewart are gonna be the main characters. So it's gonna be like from what they said, it's gonna be like a detect. It's gonna have a detective vibe into it. So I don't know what to expect. So
That makes sense since the Green Lantern Corps are basically space cops. So it makes sense for a show or a movie about them to be basically a cop show,
mm,
but in space.
yeah, yeah. So anyways, yeah. So now, what do you? How about you, Brandon? What do you expect from the Lanterns TV show?
well, first and foremost, obviously John Stewart, because they teased him in Arrowverse, but it never happened. Like Green Lantern basically never happened. It was teased very much and referenced a lot. So I was really disappointed we didn't get any payoff with that. So that's one reason I'm looking forward to the show. The second reason is that based on the whole, it's going to be based more on Earth, basically, thanks to Gunn describing it as finding this ancient horror on Earth. They're just basically super cops in their whole precinct. So I'm looking forward to that because while they will be involving space as space cops, it's going to be more Earth based. So you get to see like a more humane side that you really could see in the comics because Green Lanterns normally from Earth they don't normally operate on Earth. Like most of the time, they're either off planet on Oa or like they very rarely get to visit Earth. So this is
Yeah,
like it's a nice change of pace.
they normally deal with the grander cosmic shit.
Like in the current of the comics right now, that like they're all like most of them are restricted to Earth right now, which is I think is a good callback to like the original comics of how they first operated on Earth. But like mainly most of them they're in like the greater cosmic frontier. So this is a nice start for setting up the entire DC universe for the Lantern wise.
All right. How about you, Carbs? What do you expect from the Lanterns TV show?
The Lanterns TV show. I'm actually kind of glad that they're gonna bring us a fresh start at what Green Lantern is supposed to be. In the DCU, we got a small glimpse of him when there was a flashback of the world trying to fight Darkseid in Zack Snyder's The Justice League, and it was in. I find it very fun that that specific Green Lantern was killed off that easily. It was kind of disappointing. But we know for a fact that the Green Lanterns do, in fact, exist in the DCU. And it's very weird how also in the DCU introduction, little scenes of DC Comics, they show a glimpse of our Green Lantern, but it doesn't seem to make sense of how he fits in, unless we're talking about, of course, Hal Jordan from the Ryan Reynolds DC universe, but I'm pretty sure that's not it. So it's going to be great to see the new Green Lantern and how he or she will fit in the DCU.
All right. All right. How about you, Your Excellency? What do you expect from the Lanterns TV show?
You, you mentioned they were going to be investigating some horror on Earth, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
That just makes me curious as to. I'm going to assume it'll probably be some some Green Lantern antagonist from the comics. It makes me wonder who or what's that gonna be? Would it be like Parallax? Maybe the Black Lanterns, the Sinestro Corps? Probably not them, but we need.
Well, I don't know what to expect. There's like many kinds of lanterns as far as I know.
There's an entire color spectrum of
Yeah,
lanterns.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and there's like the whole radiation type of lantern. There's also the ultraviolet lantern as well.
Yeah,
So
those are new, or at
yeah,
least
those are
relatively
one
new.
of the newer ones.
All right. Well, let's move on to lanterns and talk about Paradise Lost. So this show is going to be focused on the Amazons. This is before. So James going to confirm this show will be before Wonder Woman even exists, as far as I know. But I don't know what to expect. I really hope I really hope this show is separated from the Wonder Woman movies. Well, not to say I'm talking shit about them, but I really like the first Wonder Woman movie. I will talk shit about the sequel. Fuck the sequel. All my fucking homies hate the sequel. But
Yeah, no, I think everybody. I'm in
Yeah, no,
1980.
that's not how you
It's a
do
genuine
Cheetah
terrible
at all.
movie.
It's not how you do it.
Disappointment.
That's not how you cheat. That's not how you do Maxwell Lord. It's honestly garbage.
Let's not forget that technically Diana technically sexually assaulted that random guy that Steve's
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
bodyguard.
yeah. Let's
yeah.
That was a
yeah,
very
another reason
that was
why
a very Chino.
this movie was bad.
God. Well for me, I just hope that if 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 Wonder Woman is going to be in this show, which I doubt, I really hope I hope Gal Gadot does not return. If me personally speaking, well, all right.
But you don't like her Wonder Woman?
No, I like her Wonder. No, I like her Wonder Woman. It's just that the actress herself is not a very good human being, as far as I know. But I'm not gonna get into that.
She just mega cringe. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So we're gonna go. I'm gonna finish my thoughts on Paradise Lost, and that I don't know what to expect on Paradise Lost. So I'm gonna give it off to Brandon on he can expect on Paradise Lost.
Well, since Paradise Lost is basically going to be a they say like a prequel to like before Wonder Woman, if she ever does appear in the DC universe, I'm expecting this is probably going to be more history based, like how the Amazons like founded Themyscira, otherwise known as Paradise Island, and like what how did they live, like what's the rules, like how did they go on with their lives, like who's in charge, like everything really, because remember in the origins in the DC universe, these Amazons are the women who escaped from the men to live peacefully by themselves under the protection of the gods.
Right, right. As far as I don't know which which was the god that abused them, but yeah, they went to a land far away so that they could the they could separate themselves from the men far as as far as they can. Well, all right. How about you, Carbs? What do you expect from Paradise Lost?
It's kind of funny how the Paradise Island is an island full of Amazon women, but anyways, Paradise Lost. It seems like an interesting premise and a great idea for a TV series for the people who love the story behind the Wonder Woman. I'm not entirely sure if there are any DC comics referring to just the island of Amazons. I might be wrong. Brandon, do you know if there's any DC comics based off of that?
Yeah, actually, not regarding the Wonder Woman itself. There are actually a few comics and crossovers that focus on the Amazons, actually, and their island.
Great, because if so, then that's what James Gunn can use as his primary resource to see more about the Amazonian culture and what they did as living on a island that's very far away from any sort of society, and the backstory of why they moved there, and go more in depth in the history of the Amazonians. Also, maybe even referring to the gods themselves, since they themselves have connections with them. And it's going to be pretty. It's going to be pretty interesting. And also, Gal Gadot, she may not be the best Wonder Woman actress. I mean, y'all remember the freaking "Hello, no" line from Justice League, but I don't know. If they find a better actress, that's great. And nowadays, they're just milking the actress to get more views on their movies, which isn't the best thing to do.
All right. How about you, Mr. Jiggle? What can you expect from Paradise Lost?
It's been a while since I read the whole James announcement about this, but it wasn't to be described as a big Game of Thrones esque on, but with months. Or am I misremembering?
I
No, you're right. It was described as a Games of Thrones type story.
I, I do
An
not.
an interesting plot point that they could do, but obviously I have nothing to base it, nothing to go off if they're ever going to do this. Would be to, at least in this continuity, explain what caused the other Amazonian tribes to leave Paradise Island and set up their own tribes. Since in the comics you got things like the African tribes and the ones that are like actually in the Amazon, that are technically Amazonians, just not on Themyscira anymore. They left for their own reasons. I think that'd probably be interesting to explore in the show.
I see. I see. Well, we're moving on to Paradise Lost and talk about Booster Gold. Now,
Why,
as
yeah, Booster Gold.
yeah,
The world's so-called greatest superhero.
yeah, I don't know anything about Booster Gold. I know he is super popular in DC characters. I think he's like top 10 most popular characters in all of DC. But I don't know anything about Booster Gold. So, but it is interesting that they're making a TV series instead of a movie. Maybe it's because they want to flesh them out to the casual audience. So I'm gonna hand this off to Brandon and tell us what can you expect from the Booster Gold show.
Booster Gold. Yeah, where do I start with him? Well, first off, he's Superman's self-proclaimed sidekick, as he does operate out of Metropolis sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes being the very operative word, considering he's running his own business. He's normally with Blue Beetle most of the time. Ted Ford, not the
Jaime
new one.
Reyes.
Yeah, exactly. He's OG. He's OG. And he's got all this future tech, but he's basically trying to act out as a superhero when in reality he's really a thief who came back to the past after stealing a time spear and technology from the 31st century. So this is basically to be the whole origin story of him. Basically, like him trying to act as a hero when he's at the same time trying to hide from people who are going to be pursuing him and arresting him and returning him back to his actual time period.
That's interesting. He sounds like a very interesting character. I can see why.
He is such a good he's such a good character. There's a reason why DC readers and fans love him. He's a great character. I love the guy.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know it makes him sound like he's like a real, like he's actually like a not a good person, but he actually is very funny, and there's a reason why he's very popular, and I hope that they do portray it in the show.
All right. How about you, Carps? What do you expect from the Booster Gold TV show?
I myself am considered to be of the casual viewer because I actually have no idea who Booster Gold is. But if he sounds such an interesting character as Brandon just described him, then I'm gonna be very, very excited for this TV show. It sounds like he's gonna be sort of anti-hero, you could say, or more of a villain disguised as a hero, or a hero disguised as a villain. I don't know, because I'm guessing if he has good intentions, but he doesn't have good ways of doing those good intentions. So yeah, hopefully excited for him, and hopefully they find a great actor to portray Booster Gold and to have that charisma as he does in the comics. And yeah, we might have another fan favorite character in the DC universe.
Yeah, I agree. This, from what I'm hearing, this dude could be super popular in pop culture if he's done well. Well, I'm gonna hand it off to you, Mr. Jiggle. What can you expect from the Booster Gold show?
Yeah, the first things, he isn't exactly a villain. He's a he is indeed a good person. Yeah, a good person, but I would best describe him, at least at the start of his journey, as like he's basically being a con man, since he's trying to profit off of him being this alleged superhero from the future.
I see.
But the comedy comes from the fact that he has this big ego. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. Yeah, everybody can basically see through his bullshit.
Hmm.
And then he has his floating talking computer Skeets. Skeets is an integral part of what makes Booster Gold hilarious, because he's basically the straight man to Booster.
Hmm. I see. Well, from what I'm hearing from you guys, this is a character I'm looking forward to seeing. Well, we move on to season 2 of Peacemaker has been confirmed to be part of the DC universe. So I don't know how is that going to work, because we're in the last episode of the season 1 of Peacemaker, we actually get to see the Justice League. Well, we also not only we get to see the Justice League, we see Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller
Ezra
as
Miller.
Aquaman and the Flash, respectively. So yeah, James Gunn's gonna have a lot of explanation to do for that if he's gonna put Peacemaker in this separate universe. So I'm gonna start off with Brandon. What can you expect from season 2 of the Peacemaker?
See, this is where we get complicated with the whole DC universe, because since Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller did appear in the final episode, that potentially means I don't want to have like typos for anyone listening out there. This is potentially, like, it's just a potential thing that they have to make it so the Flash movie, which God, we all know it was awful, right? Like, the
Yeah,
thing is,
I
like,
saw it.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was a movie.
Yeah, exactly. It's not one. It's, again, like, brief overview of the Flash. Like, it's basically just the movie's take on Flashpoint. It's really bad, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure you can all agree that is not how you do Flashpoint at all.
I don't know anything about the Flashpoint storyline, so I'm gonna have to sit this one out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you know, you know. Read Flashpoint if you haven't. But anyway, at the very
It's
end of the
pretty good.
movie, which, yeah, at the end of the movie, this is the important bit. It's basically Barry once more rewrote the timeline again, and and everything didn't exactly go back to the way it was before, because we got, surprisingly, George Clooney returning as Bruce Wayne. So I'm gonna probably.
I feel like they added George Clooney so that they wanted to make a joke. I feel like it wasn't supposed to be taken seriously, but it was a
probably.
really bad joke.
Yeah, again, really bad joke. Again, this is just potentially. I am 100% sure he is not going to be the Batman of the DC universe.
He's not.
If he is, then, like, that's probably a big problem. But the main point I'm saying here is that originally plans for the Flash this was going to be the final movie of the DC expanded universe, and this would basically reboot it in the James Gunn's DC universe. So what the point I'm trying to make here is that Jason Momoa and the Flash did appear in Peacemaker season 1's ending, and since we have Peacemaker season 2 confirmed, they could potentially play us off as, since some things were changed thanks to the Flash reboot, thanks to the Flash returning the timeline back to normal, they could make it so that the Flash's ending is technically canon to the DC universe, which would explain why Peacemaker is getting a season 2 confirmed to be in the DCU, and some other elements that may appear later on in the DCU.
Yeah, it's a sort of a similar situation to what happened in the comics with Flashpoint with the New 52, where most of it was rebooted. Most of it was rebooted, but some things, mostly Batman and Green Lantern, were basically not changed at all outside of being condensed into 5 years.
Exactly.
Well, one thing's for sure. I am glad that we're getting new content from Peacemaker because that show is absolutely hilarious.
Oh yeah, no argument there.
Yeah, we're excited for that.
And John Cena's Peacemaker, perfect casting. That is literally perfect casting. Yeah. So,
I can't think of anyone else who could have played a better Peacemaker.
Yep.
They finally found an ideal role for John Cena.
Outside of just playing himself.
Yep.
But the thing is, for season 2 here, they have to. It depends on what storyline the people are going to be adapting, if they are going to be at all, or it's going to be an original storyline within DC universe after the reboot, and if this is confirming if the Flash is canon, at least ending wise, because the like most of it was like we don't talk about.
Well, I'm gonna land this off to Carbs. What can you expect from season 2 of the Peacemaker?
Season 2 of Peacemaker. Honestly, I can't wait. Although I haven't seen the first one again, I did see the last episode, and I just died of laughter. So I probably should watch the whole series. But if we're going to continue off to where season 2 ended, it's going to be kind of weird having that in the back of our minds that, oh wait, we already do have our Justice League, and if they do make another appearance, then maybe we have to awkwardly get adjusted to the new, quote unquote, Justice League. Although I'm not entirely sure if Ezra Miller is still going to continue being the Flash, and if Aquaman's still going to continue being Aquaman.
Yeah, I doubt that.
But people are speculating that
Jason whack shit he's been up to.
You see, this is the whole problem with the Flash movie, because if it is confirmed that this was the reason why the DC universe even happened as the whole continuity-wise reboot, it's going to be a lot of trouble. This is the whole problem I had with it.
The Flash movie didn't do a good job at explaining that, okay, we're going to reset the whole universe, but that it doesn't make sense for them to still continue using the previous actors from previous DC movies. For example, Michael Keaton or George Clooney, or even that never happened Superman movie starring what's his face? Nicolas Cage. Yeah.
Nicolas Cage. No, see, that's the thing. It's like the New 52, basically, the whole reboot.
Yeah.
Because in the New 52, everything was rebooted, but some stuff was kept the same.
Again, it was mostly Batman and Green Lantern stuff that was kept the same. Since those are already doing very well before the reboot, why stop them?
Yeah, it makes sense. Plus, I feel like that Nicolas Cage cameo was just for the funnies. It was for the funnies.
Yeah, and
that's why they cast him. Yeah, put that cameo in there. That's why Nicolas Cage voiced Superman in Teen Titans Go to the movies. It was because
everyone knew that reference.
Yeah. But again, George Clooney coming back is obviously that's probably not going to happen 100% with the whole DCU when they do introduce Batman in. That's probably not going to happen. It's probably going to be a different actor.
Yeah.
Definitely. And again, this is the point I'm trying to make it with the Flash is that while some stuff is rebooted, some stuff may stay the same if they do decide to use the ending of the Flash as the official reboot point for the DCU.
Wow. And the biggest thing is that before we exited out, is that there's so many previous movies from the old DCU that left left on a bunch of cliffhangers, and people expect to fulfill those cliffhangers, but it just won't ever happen thanks to James Gunn's new DC universe and the Flash movie. But it's just too confusing right now, and if they just stop trying to continue the stories with these with, for example, Aquaman being the last of the old DC universe or the continuation of the new one, I just wish they would just stop trying to connect it all together and just start from scratch with the new DCU, just for everyone to get like a refresher and forget that the old DCU happened. Like that's a separate timeline from this DCU.
Yep, same. And yeah, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how they got George Clooney back as Bruce Wayne because as far as I know, he fucking hated playing as Batman.
Money.
Yeah, I don't know how they even did it, but like continuity wise, I could probably go into it, but that would probably have to be its own separate discussion video. Honestly,
Yeah,
it was
honestly.
into a lot of multiverse theory and into the Arrowverse itself. So
Yeah, I feel like we're kind of getting off track right now. We're talking more about the universe.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, how about you, King Juggle? What can you expect from Peacemaker?
I expect Peacemaker to show up.
Yep. Yes, sir.
We basically already talked about everything.
All right.
Yeah, that's as low as our expectations have to go. We just have to see the character itself show up. Come on, John Cena, don't do anything stupid. We want you to be back. We love you. Just continue to be yourself.
James Gunn confirmed that John Cena will come back as Peacemaker. We're in good hands.
Nice.
So, all right, we're gonna move on to a show from the DC Elseworlds, The Penguin. So, so the Bat.
This is the one that's connected to the Batman, right?
Yep, the Batman, the
Okay.
Matt Reeves. So according to what James Gunn has said, it's gonna focus more on It's gonna focus more on the city of Gotham and a lot of the crimes that Gotham is facing. So it's gonna focus and it's gonna be on the Penguins' point of view. It is. I am interested to see what Matt Reeves can do, and he is sure taking his sweet time on the Penguin. Although to be fair, there was a strike, so I'm pretty excited about it because I love the Batman. So I'm gonna lend this off to Brandon to see what can he expect from the Penguin show.
I do think it's a good idea to focus more on Gotham with the Penguin because he is basically the whole, I guess you could say, the normal crime boss of Gotham, if that makes sense for those who, because he's really the only one who doesn't exactly have that many special skills like Catwoman, even though she's also normal. She has a very like major set of skills that keeps her up in line with everyone there. He's really just like the rich mob boss kind of character, crime boss kind of character, really.
Right. So how about you, Carlos? What can you expect from the Penguin TV show?
And in all complete honesty, don't hate me for this, but I kind of have mixed feelings on the Batman movie. A lot of people say it's probably the best Batman movie that's ever come out. I mean, it's pretty much being fought out with the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, The Dark Knight. Or wait, am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Was it the Christopher Nolan movies?
Yep.
Yes, it was
Yes, you are right.
Gotcha. Okay, good. So yeah, but I kind of, when I first watched the Batman, I kind of debated whether I liked the movie or didn't like it. The only thing that really led to me not liking it as much was because it was, I will say this, it was a pretty long movie, and if you don't really like long movies, especially when it has too much of monologuing, then you might not like it. I liked it, but I didn't at the same time because you have to obviously listen to the monologues and the characters speaking because those are the detailed and hidden things that will help you solve the mystery of the movie. But I love the fact that they put more speculation on the Riddler than on the Penguin, because the Penguin himself looked, at least in the movie, pretty one-dimensional for a villain. I like that they went more comic accurate, not entirely, but with the premise of what the character of the Penguin is. He's not just Danny DeVito. But Yeah, I actually can't wait to see the Penguin, because if it's connected to the Matt Reeves the Batman show, this is a good example of having like the separate universes having their own continuity and not all of it trying to be one big interconnected universe.
All right, and we're gonna hand this off to your Majesty himself, King Jiggle the Fourth. On what can you expect on the Penguin TV show?
If it's gonna be a show focusing on the crime and ground level criminal aspect of Gotham, something I think would be very interesting to see is how the other crime lords interact with each other, and how that plays off of each other. Since Penguin is I would say is a pretty good point of view for this, especially to introduce or at least look at other crime bosses like the Falcones, or the Falcones, or that they brought in like Black Mask or something.
Hmm, interesting, interesting. Well, we're done talking about the TV shows for the DC universe. Let's go on to the movies. Starting off with Superman Legacy. Cast. So we do know who. So casting has been confirmed for Superman Legacy, and David Corenswet is confirmed to be Superman, while Rachel Brosnahan is confirmed to be Lois Lane. And James Gunn has confirmed that it is not an origin story. Rather, Superman is basically already established in this movie. And not only that, as far as I know, I think James Gunn has stated that the movie will introduce other superheroes. I think Hawk Girl is one of those heroes. So in the DC universe with Superman Legacy, the superheroes is all people are already aware of superheroes. And as far as I know, James Gunn has stated that in Superman Legacy, it will focus more on Clark Kent instead of Superman, which I am very excited about because I'm not my main familiarity with Superman, my main association with him, my first introduction with him was the cartoon series, the animated series, and Superman Returns. Those are my two main associations with Superman, and I recently did saw Man of Steel, and it was not a good adaptation of Superman. I don't care what anyone says. Man of Steel is not a good is not a good way of doing Superman. So I am very excited to see what Superman Legacy has to offer, and I'm gonna see that. And let's go see what Brandon has to say about Superman Legacy.
This movie is basically again it's gonna be based on Clark Kent, not Superman himself, and Superman is already established in this movie already as a very prominent figure. This is basically him just trying to balance his Kryptonian heritage with his human side. Because as we all know, the origin story, he was raised by Mom and Pa Kent in the farm in Smallville, and this is him just trying to balance that out, like how he grew up with all his like powers, his heritage, everything. Which I think is a very good starting point because TV shows we only see like him being like Superman. We rarely see him as Clark Kent much. And this is a good starting point, like because we get to see not his origin story, which we've all seen like hundreds and hundreds of times at this point. But we get to see his day to day life as Clark Kent and him struggling to be normal in a world where he is extraordinary. He has the powers by God essentially. Yet he's acting like a mortal itself. It's a good starting point, like just to see like how his upbringing involves his Kryptonian heritage and everything.
All right. How about you, Carbs? What can you expect from Superman Legacy?
Superman Legacy, honestly, is probably going to be either the best adaptation of Superman if James Gunn does him right, especially considering the fact that this is a personal project for James Gunn. And since James Gunn knows how to direct things correctly and accurately, or as we could say, his own version of it, but the version that everyone will eventually learn to love, I honestly can't wait for Superman Legacy. I'm glad that they recasted Superman, because I'm not entirely sure if Henry Cavill was going to be able to play this version of Superman. But yeah, I just can't wait to see what comes up with Superman Legacy. And although the posters did look like it was going to be animated, it's actually going to be live action, which is pretty great. And if it connects well to the DCU, I'm all in for it.
All right, how about you, Your Highness? What can you expect from Superman Legacy?
Uh, I have lots of things to say about this. First off, I guess the posters for Superman Legacy, that you're referring to is not necessarily posters for the movies. Instead, that's taking the cover for it's one of the covers for comic All Star Superman and just putting Superman Legacy on it. Which, if you want like a really good story to tell you what who Superman is and what he's all about in a nice, concise manner without all of the continuity baggage, then All Star Superman is it's fantastic. It's one of the best Superman comics ever made.
All right.
Also, also, I I do think Henry Cavill could have played a comic accurate Superman. It's just what he was given was not comic. It was not Superman. It just wasn't.
Yeah, it was not Superman, dude. Which is crazy because Christopher Nolan wrote the fucking story. Like he wrote Batman pretty well. So and I don't know what happened with Man of Steel. I don't know how he fucked that up.
It was an attempt. It's because it was an attempt to try and basically deconstruct Superman by putting him in a real world setting, and saying this is how he would react, how he would actually behave in the real world, instead of the idea that maybe Superman might just be a good person.
Yeah, it's not a good way to deconstruct a character. That is not
It's
how you deconstruct a character.
it's hard to deconstruct a character with a very clear, defined identity without at least constructing them in the first place.
Yeah, like I don't even know if I could blame Nolan because as far as I know, as far as I know during the development of Man of Steel, like he was still developing like The Dark Knight Rises, and as far as I know, he was like on a massive burnout. So he would have directed Man of Steel if not for the burnout. Instead, he gave it to Zack Snyder.
Yeah, I think most of the issues with Superman in the DC extended universe, I would say probably stems from Snyder. Yeah, I don't think Snyder bad person, at least from what I can tell. He's a fantastic cinematographer. He creates extremely visually stunning films, but I don't think he's a very good writer.
Yeah,
And he definitely does not have a good grasp on DC characters. The thing about DC that seemingly a lot of people don't seem to understand is that and this is partially, I would say this is partially because of because of how jokey and sarcastic the MCU is. People tend to start thinking that DC is like the dark and gritty alternative to the bright and colorful Marvel, which is like not the case at all. It's like actually the opposite. DC is supposed to be the bright, hopeful, optimistic universe, while Marvel is the more darker, grounded, gritty universe.
yeah. So basically, Zack Snyder didn't understand the source material. Sounds like.
A lot of people don't understand the source material, because even in DC stories where really bad things happen, there's always that underlying hope of this will ultimately turn out right. Like better examples of that would be like the DC universe. which is basically DC's extremely late answer to Marvel Zombies, where fucking everybody dies and turns into zombies, but it still has that hope behind it because there's always the hope that that the cure could have been found and that everything could be corrected, which it was by the end of the story.
Well, also, by the way, Superman is not God. He is not a god. I want to repeat. I want to refrain myself from that because people write him as like a godlike figure. He is not a god. So I really hope James Gunn understands that. But apparently he does know. He is aware that he is not a god. He does.
Yeah,
I should have clarified this when I was saying this earlier. I should only say they see him as a god because he has all these abilities that are beyond the limits of mortal people. I want to make this clear. Not a god. He only has extraordinary abilities different from those of mortal people. He can still die.
At his core, he's a guy. He's some small town farmer from Kansas. He's just some nice guy. He's not this omnipotent, impossible to kill deity. He's just a guy who's able to. He's just a guy who's able to pick up buildings.
Yeah, exactly. God. Well, we're moving on to Superman Legacy and talk about the Authority. So I did some research on the Authority and the so the Authority. So while Ken was talking about how DC is about hope, the Authority, as far as I know, they're specifically about cynicism. They're basically the darker version of the DC heroes, and they're so it basic. So what I'm trying to say is they're basically, if any of you guys watch The Boys, they're basically the Authority is similar to the Seven. So except they actually have powers. So they've seen a lot of shit. They basically have a lot more realistic view, and they basically rebel on a lot of superheroes' morality, and they also, so as far as I know, like I think James is going to confirm that the Authority is also going to appear on Superman Legacy. Maybe they could be the main antagonists of the Superman Legacy, but I don't know. As far as I know, they're like the more cynical version. They, while Superman has like a hopeful view, the Authority has like a much more cynical view.
Yeah,
But
they're the basically pessimistic.
yep.
They feel
Uh,
believe in they believe in kind of might makes right, and and extreme, and you need to do whatever it is necessary to assure basically peace and safety, all that kind of stuff.
Yep, no matter the cost, even if it means killing women, even if it means killing men, women, and children, they'll do whatever it takes to gain peace. So it's basically the peacemaker, but they basically have superhuman strength. So I'm gonna
Yeah, instead of
hand
just being a guy with a gun.
yep. And so I'm gonna hand this off to Brandon and see and tell his thoughts on what can he expect on the Authority.
Okay, so before I go into anything else, I gotta specify what the authority is. There are two versions of the authority. The one that probably most people, like more recently, is the authority made by Superman. Recently in the comics, right before his whole World arc. The second one is the original version of the authority in the Wildstorm universe, and this is the one they are adapting for DC Universe. I want to make that clear right now. Like, this is not Superman's authority. This is the Wildstorm Universe authority, which is a subsidiary of the DC Universe. I want to make that clear right now.
Right.
So basically, the Wildstorm Universe, just a quick overview of it, is one of the Earths created from Infinite Crisis, this is the world where metahumans have no inhibitions against removing human political leadership if they engage in initiatives that harm others. Which basically is a fancy way of saying that, hey, metahumans will now kill people if they get in their way and hurt people. And the thing I'm looking forward to most about this is that it's going to show like, hey, this is a world where they have good intentions, but they do it in the completely wrong way, even though they're trying to make the world a better place. And I'm really looking forward to how this all plays out with their conflicting thoughts on this entire process that they're doing with it.
Well, yeah, I am looking forward to it, but I feel like it's an incredibly risky project because if if they're going off on how they have good intentions but use many fucked up ideas to get what they want, yeah, it's definitely gonna be rated R. It's gonna be a rated R film, and it's
Oh yeah,
pro
I don't, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with it being
yeah
That's
a
fine.
rated R film. In fact, I would say that would be the best way to adapt them is to make it rated R, so they can actually show how far they will go to achieve, to do what they feel is right.
Yep, and the what also doesn't help is that there, as far as I know, I don't think anyone has heard of the Authority before James Gunn has announced like a movie project. Like I didn't even know their existence until like James Gunn announced the movie. So
Oh
I
yeah,
don't.
they're pretty obscure, especially considering
That's
the
only
authority
because like,
itself.
oh no, you go.
The authority and basically all of Wildstorm originally wasn't part of DC. They later got bought by DC and were later integrated into DC continuity and stuff. They were originally it was an independent comic to that was doing its own thing. Yeah, doing its own thing. A la The Boys, but better than The Boys comic. Not the show, the comic. The Boys comic is pretty shit.
Well, yeah, exactly like that. And we wouldn't even see Wildstorm in the DC a few crossovers until Flashpoint happened, which did merge all of those continuities into the whole continuity that we have right now.
Yeah.
All right, so I just hope that if they move forward with what I said, I just hope it's successful because it's incredibly risky. It's going to be rated R and it's a very niche community. So I just hope it turns out well. But I'll give it to you, Carbs. What can you expect from the Authority?
The one thing I fear that the Authority will be in this whole cinematic universe for DC, because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but the recurring theme for me is how is this going to be connected all together, and if we're going to be doing quote unquote homework in order to understand what is going on in the bigger picture of the DCU. But what I fear is that this kind of sounds like it might be a very, like you said, it's very risky. It's a project that not a lot of people will know of, and it's going to introduce a lot of these characters. But it gives me a sort of a vibe of what happened with Marvel, that they were going to introduce the Inhumans, but as a TV series and not in the direct MCU. Because I don't know about you guys, but I have not watched the Inhumans Marvel show, and I don't think, and I
It
don't
wasn't
remember.
very good.
Right. And not a lot, most Marvel fans of the MCU at least would, or at least half, would say that they haven't watched the Inhumans and they probably won't even consider watching it at all since it's not really entirely, you know,
Relevant to
connected to the
anything.
MCU. Exactly. The only relevant thing was that Black Bolt appeared in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, for like 5 minutes, then he blew up his own brain.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but back on topic is that I'm kind of scared that hopefully that this new TV show is gonna be more separated, but hopefully they try to make it more inclusive to the DCU, and hopefully we have memorable characters and recurring characters that don't just appear once.
All right, all right. So, how about you, your Grace? What can you expect from the Authority?
I think it could be a very interesting counter. Yeah, if we're if they're going to like keep the universe and the characters themselves as hopeful and optimistic as they should be, this could be a very interesting counterpoint. Counterpoint. And counter argument to that idea. Counter argument about that counteracting the hopeful, optimistic characters with this more cynical and pessimistic and probably and what many people would probably say realistic set of characters. I think that could be a very interesting through line to build upon for the universe, and maybe it could even be a center point of this, of the universe of which is a more valid mindset, being hopeful and optimistic about humanity, or more cynical and pessimistic.
Okay, okay, I see, I see. Let's move on to the Authority and talk about the Brave and the Bold. So, the Brave and the Bold is not related to Matt Reeves' The Batman. I want to make that clear. This is its own separate Batman film. It's going to be this is going to be connected to the DC universe. So we're going to have a new Batman, and for the first time we're going to get a live action adaptation of Damian Wayne. So which is very cool to see, even though he is not even though he is hated by the DC fan base. It will be very interesting to see what Damian Wayne could offer, but I don't know what to expect from the Brave and the Bold. All I know is that I think the Bat family is already established, like Jason, Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Barbara Gordon, and Cassandra Cain. Yeah, I think they're already established. So maybe it'll focus on the Bat family. So I don't know what to expect from the Brave and the Bold, but I am looking forward to it. So I'm gonna hand this off to Brandon to see what he can expect from the Brave and the Bold.
So again, I'm going to make this clear. This is not, again, not Robert Patterson. This is definitely not George Clooney. If they do decide that the Flash is the reboot point, this is definitely not George Clooney. He's not going to be returning as Batman. This is going to be completely new. I want to make that clear first and foremost. Again, Brave and the Bold. This is going to be the first. Again, Nomicon said, that this is most likely going to establish the Batman family as well, all the Robins as well. Expecting, since this is the story of Damian Wayne, this is gonna be like this is actually a pretty big risk, actually, because this is the most bloodthirsty Robin other than Jason himself. Like, this guy was raised by assassins. He was raised to kill. He has no qualms with killing at this point in time, because this is the movie about their first meeting and how they first start interacting. So
It's going to be like an adaptation of. It's going to be like an adaptation of Son of Batman.
Yeah, exactly, basically. Because if you've seen that movie, that's basically what's going to be happening with this whole live action movie.
Interesting. I actually have not seen that movie, nor many of the DC animated movies. I think the only one I've seen.
You really should.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't.
Yeah, and also they'll give you a lot of context with probably what's going to be happening with the whole DCU itself.
Yeah,
this is basically like the DCEU, except way better.
I did. All I know is that I am expecting to hate Damian Wayne.
Damian Wayne is an interesting. He's an interesting little bugger.
Yeah, and also he's a jerk. When you first meet him, he's very egotistical, very narcissistic. It's going to be interesting how they're going to portray him, really. Yeah. Right. Like, how narcissistic or egotistical he is.
So, all right. All right. How about you, Carbs? What can you expect from the Brave and the Bold?
All right, Brave and the Bold. Ever since James Gunn announced this one, I have been pretty excited about this TV series. Not just because it's, of course, a new Batman, but also because they're not going to use the Batman from the Matt Reeves universe, because it would have been a lot of confusion if that were the case. But happily, so we got a new cast for all of these characters. I'm not saying that Ben Affleck was the worst Batman, but I'm just saying that hopefully this Batman from Brave and the Bold is going to be better than the depiction of Batman in the old DCU. Also, the Matt Reeves Batman is, you know, pretty good, but it wouldn't fit entirely with the setup of how the DCU is going to be.
Yeah, with his more gritty and grounded approach.
Exactly. Brave and the Bold, and honestly, with the title of that, I just immediately thought of the animated series, and hopefully they do. Yeah, hopefully they do justice with this, and if it works with Superman Legacy, hopefully this Superman and this Batman will get along just as well as they did in the comics and also in
I hope
the
so.
animated TV shows and the TV series. Honestly, I would love to see them get along as well as in, for example, the Justice League animated TV series.
Well, all right.
Yeah. Oh God, I hope so.
All right.
God, I am so freaking tired of people always doing Batman versus Superman. It's like that's like stop it. That's not interesting. It's not interesting. That was not interesting fucking 20 years ago. They
What's
worked
your mother's name?
Martha.
My mommy's name is Martha too. Wait, what's your father's name? John.
Oh
Mine's
god, okay.
Thomas. I
All right.
love
Well,
that.
all right. All right. All right. All right. Well, how about you, Your Highness? What can you expect from the Brave and the Bold?
I think it will be very interesting to finally see a live action adaptation of the Cat family because in previous Batman iterations, we may have gotten like the starting point, if for better or worse, like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. That would have been like the start of the Bat family, but obviously that didn't go anywhere.
For good reason.
Yeah, but I think it'll be very interesting. Interesting to see. I'm also very interested, excited to see, Damian Wayne's progression as a character. Because, well, yes, it is true that many people don't like him. There are also plenty of people that do like him because of how his character has progressed from being that arrogant little shit to actually being far more humble and humble and actually competent and stuff.
Hmm. All right.
Sure, sure, writers may revert back to his arrogant self because status quo, lol. But in movies, you don't have to worry about that.
Well, okay. Let's move on to the Brave and the Bold, and let's talk about Supergirl. Supergirl was already introduced in the Flash. Honestly, she was honestly my favorite character in the movie, but we're not going to talk about Supergirl from the Flash. We're going to talk about Supergirl from this film. So for those of you that don't know Supergirl, so Kara Zor-El is is Kal-El's cousin. She did went to Earth, but she went there when she was like a preteen. So she as a she went to Earth not knowing what the fuck is happening, and she she came to Earth with a very cynical point of view. So with Superman having a hopeful view, Supergirl is more pessimistic. Like she doesn't see humans as worth saving. Like I feel like she sees the whole entire planet as like kind of disposable as sorts. So it is interest. I'll be interested to see what how they can do Supergirl. Also, one more thing before I hand it to Brandon. Um, I really hope they get Sasha Kaya as Supergirl because in the Flash, uh, yeah, I know there's like the Flash, but like she's not canon in the timeline. I am confident that she is not canon in the timeline, in the DCEU timeline. So I really, really hope they get Sasha Kaye as back as Supergirl. All right, I'll hand this off to Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow is going to be one of the movies I am looking forward to the most out of the entire DCU so far. Again, this is basically Supergirl probably at a point that in life that we've never really seen her before in comics that much. Like she's very again, she's gonna be a much harsher, more screwed up version of Supergirl, who's lived through not only the destruction of Krypton, but has also had a lot of people that she knew on Krypton die all around her, while she's just stuck on a piece of Krypton that survived the whole destruction of Krypton itself. And since this is gonna be based on a comic book, we're gonna see her like go through her own like trial of like hope, like trying to be that person that tries to help out, just like her cousin, but through her own way itself, like in a comics run.
Hmm, well, all right. Well, how about you, Cars? What can you expect from Supergirl?
Supergirl, honestly, I'm not that familiar with the character as much as, of course, Kal-El. But Kara in the Flash movie, the actress did a pretty okay portrayal of her. I'm not going to complain, especially with what James Gunn looks like he's going to do with the character. But if they do recast her, I'm not going to have that much of an impact just because we only saw one movie with the actress in it. But yeah, hopefully they do make Kara more, impactful to the whole DCU universe itself, and hope there is a connection with her and Superman Legacy, and of course, if she is going to be included in the Justice League or in any other part of the DCU, have her play a bigger role than just the role that she is given in the series.
All right. How about you, Your Majesty? What can you expect from Supergirl?
I'm frankly kind of interested to see what her interactions would be with her cousin and just the rest of and just the rest of the world in general.
Hmm, well, okay. Let's move on to Swamp Thing. Um, I don't know anything about Swamp Thing. I the only reason why I know him is because of Injustice 2. Um, so I wish I could say more, but I don't know. I only know him in name only, so I'm gonna pass this off to Brandon. But from what I've heard, but from what I did heard from James Gunn, it's gonna be a horror film. So it's gonna be a rated R film. So that's for sure, and it's gonna be a horror film. So that is a very interesting move for a superhero film. So I'm gonna hand this off to Brandon to tell you guys who Swamp Thing is.
Swamp Thing is basically the protector of the green of the entire planet, and his powers relate closely with poison ivy through their connection to the green, which is basically the whole life force of the entire planet. He
Flat
is
life.
technically a which is plant life, basically. He is seen as a force for good. Like I wouldn't say superhero capacity wise, but he is seen as a force for good most of the time. Though he does have his dark side to himself, where he will mercilessly kill like anyone that goes against plant life in general. Which is why he's a very dark and foreboding character sometimes as well.
Well, okay, that is interesting.
One question I do have over here is who his host is going to be, because Swamp Thing has had a myriad of hosts throughout his entire history. I am so concerned, like, who will be his host? Because depending on his host, it can be a very interesting origin, even though it will be different for Swamp Thing, or it could be like downright brutal.
mm, okay. Well, as far as I know, no director is announced, but James Mangold really wants to direct that film. So I that would be pretty cool if James Gunn directs that movie because For those who don't know, James Gunn directed Logan, Ford versus Ferrari, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I really, really love those films. So so if he is the director, I am that's definitely that will definitely excite me. I'm gonna pass this off to Carbs to see what he can expect on Swamp Thing.
Swamp Thing. I'm not entirely no. I don't know entirely about the character, especially since he doesn't make that many appearances in any animated DC series or movie. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he probably appeared in the Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy show. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't really seen that, but he's an interesting character because he hasn't really been portrayed as much in the DC, anything DC related. I'm pretty sure he did make an appearance in the animated Brave and the Bold series. If I'm not correct, am I wrong? Or am I right? You guys
Uh,
know.
In Batman: The Brave and the Bold, no, Swamp Thing did not show up in that. He's shown up in
Yeah,
he showed up in Justice League Action. He's also shown up in in the animated film Batman and Harley Quinn. And
There we go.
yes, he
That's what
was.
I'm confusing with.
And yes, he was also in the Harley Quinn animated series.
okay.
So, but yeah, he has made some rare appearances off paper and more into the, animated movies. But we haven't really seen him in anything live action related. The closest thing to Swamp Thing was Man Thing from the MCU in Werewolf by Night, but which is a pretty cool depiction of that character. But hopefully in the DCU, since the main project is Gods and Monsters, they're gonna portray Swamp Thing as more villainous or grotesque or things like that. They might even make it into a more horror spin for those that don't know about his backstory. And it's gonna be a nice surprise because if he's connected to the bigger DCU, hopefully he's not just a villain or just someone who tries to defend plants. But yeah, we can do a lot with that character than what just one would see off of just by when you hear the name Swamp Thing, you say, oh, just like a monster from the swamp. But there's more to that than just what meets the name in the eye.
All right. How about you, Your Majesty? What can you expect from Swamp Thing?
Swamp Thing could actually represent both gods and monsters at the same time because of the fact that Swamp Thing not only is visually a monster, a monster physically, both physically and in most parts kind of characteristically a monster, but because of his connection to the green and the wider, I guess, cosmology of DC, he could actually tie in pretty decently into the whole gods and deity aspect. Which, if they wanted to do that, a pretty good place to start would be, which I'm fairly certain they're probably already doing this, would be to start with Alan Moore's legendary run on Swamp Thing.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. That is interesting. Well, that is it for the DC universe. And the last thing we're going to talk about is the Batman Part Two from DC Elseworlds. So some of you already know, I love the Batman. That movie's a masterpiece. So as far as I know, I think Clayface is confirmed to be the main antagonist of the sequel. So
I
I'm
believe that's
so I don't know how I don't know how he's gonna work in a realistic scenario, but I am interested in seeing it. Like a lot of people speculated that the main antagonist of the Batman Part Two was gonna be Mister Freeze, which would make sense, but Clayface. I'm not sure how he's gonna work. I mean, the Riddler, they made the Riddler work in the realistic setting. That Clayface, oh, I'm not sure about that. But I trust Matt Reeves in the process. I am so excited on the Batman Part Two. All right, how about you, Brandon? What can you expect from the Batman Part Two?
I think that following the success of the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, there's a lot to build off of in this Elseworlds movie. I do think that it's gonna be any villain they really choose, they will have a good time portraying him as the villain. They did just a very good job. If you watch the Batman for the 2004 series, have you guys seen that?
Oh
No.
yeah. You're talking about what was the detective's name? Bennett.
Ethan Bennett. Yeah,
Yes,
Ethan Bennett. Yeah.
That would actually be that would actually be a great way to do Clayface. That was such an underrated part of the 2004 show.
Yeah, exactly. So if you've seen the show, then you know while it was underrated, they did do a very good adaptation of Clayface in that regard. So if they do it if James Gunn, if they do do direct it like that, I think that it'll be a great movie, like in that regard.
Interesting. I actually haven't seen the 2004 Batman animated series at all. I do remember seeing
You should.
commercials of it.
You should. It's great. It's
Yeah,
great.
You really
I
should.
remember seeing commercials of it constantly when I was a kid, but I never got around to it. So,
all the seasons are on Netflix right now.
Oh, really?
You can watch it there.
No. I actually have the complete series on Blu-ray in physical form, so maybe I'll watch it.
They didn't go and watch it. I might as well. My best way of describing it would be like it's kind of like B-Task, but don't take that as like saying it's basically just B-Task too, but it's kind of like B-Task but with more action. With more action, and it does a lot of its own things that I think are really neat.
Interesting. So
a good example would be Clayface. Since Ethan Bennett is not a character from the comics, he was a character the show created, and his story and transformation into Clayface is one of the best parts of the show.
And as far as I know, they redesigned Mr. Freeze. Like as far as I know, like he's a completely different character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And from what I've heard, that version of the Penguin is like a top 5 favorite or top 3.
I love that version.
Yeah, that version.
He's also voiced by SpongeBob.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's right. He's voiced by.
He's voiced by Tom Kenny.
All right. Sorry. All right. How about you, Cars? What can you expect from the Batman Part 2?
The Batman Part 2. I don't know how many parts they're going to be in the Batman. Is it going to be a 3-part, or if not more?
That has not been.
Has any of that been confirmed?
That has not
been
stated yet.
So
it's going to be an infinite parter. All of the parts.
Yeah. Well, hopefully in Part 2 we get another great film, but I want Part 2 to not be exactly like Part 1. Of course, Part 1 of the Batman itself, but the movie itself could just be its own thing. But if they're going to continue the story, they should make it not so similar to the first one of it being as a mystery film to solve. For example, the first Batman movie gave me vibes of Sherlock Holmes, where we're trying to solve the mystery with all these clues, trying to tie it together, how to stop the Riddler, and things like that. But if the new villain is going to be the Koi-fish, what's the villain's name?
Clayface.
Clayface is going to be the main villain?
Yeah.
As far as I know, yes.
That's at least what we've heard so far.
Gotcha. So if Clayface is going to be the villain, then they should make it more dramatic and less of a mystery, because we all know who Clayface is, and Clayface's personality isn't really about a mystery things. And of course, if he's more of you could say more of a brawl type of person. But if they try to make him like a good character, plus if they have Clayface, you should give him his abilities, giving me off Sandman type of vibes, and portray his powers and explain how he works itself, and not just introduce him. It's just a villain that just appeared out of nowhere, because that is something that I've noticed with villains with supernatural abilities don't exactly have the best story development in most movies. The way they're introduced are just these powerful people, or just an experimental accident that happens, that, don't get me wrong, is literally what happens, but it's just not depicted as well as it should be. Doesn't get, it's not really dived deep into in the movie. So Clayface is going to be the main villain. I want to see who he is, what's his backstory, why we should feel for him, or why he should be treated as a big villain that's even worse than the Riddler.
All right.
Giving me like in The Dark Knight, how the Joker was in the second movie, and then it was Bane in the third one. We went from a villain who's mostly into planning to a villain who's more into the brawl type of things.
Yeah.
So hopefully the Batman Part Two is a better, is a sequel that's even better than the first one. Because if I'm going to watch a sequel, I want the sequel to not just be better than the first one, but be as memorable as the first one as well.
All right. So, Brandon, did you give your thoughts on the Batman Part 2 yet, or not yet?
Yeah, I already did.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Your Highness? What can you expect from the Batman Part 2?
Well, if they're gonna do Clayface, there is a myriad of different ways they could do this and make Clayface a compelling, or at least interesting or threatening antagonist. We already briefly discussed doing what the 2004 animated series did with Bennett, but they could still do it, yeah, equally do it with like any of the other people who have been Clayface, since there have been in the comics at least three Clayfaces.
I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Well, I guess that's it for our discussion on the DC universe. And a lot of people had some worried about how James Gunn and Peter Safran can handle the DC universe, but ever since I saw Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, I have great faith that James Gunn will do it. Will do a great job of handling the DC universe. And that concludes the DC universe discussion video. And so I am going to show off some of my friends on where can you find them. Starting with Brandon, where can people find you?
I don't exactly have any tons of social media. I mean, I only have Discord really. So sorry for you guys if you guys want to talk to me on social media. I don't exactly have that.
Oh,
So yeah, sorry about
okay.
that.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. How about you, Your Highness? Where can people find you?
Uh, I have a YouTube channel under my username King Jiggle the Fourth. I upload videos. Yeah, I upload videos there like once in a blue moon because I'm lazy.
Okay. How about you, Carbs? Where can people find you?
Uh, People can find me on Instagram at ERCKY05. And I post things mostly on my story. I haven't posted anything on my Instagram in over a year, which is kind of weird because I always take photos and videos and say I'm going to post it on Instagram, but I never eventually do because I just don't get around to it. But yeah, that's where y'all can find me.
All right. So if you like this video, like this video, and make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and make sure you follow my Instagram, Backlog, and Letterboxd down in the description down below. And I'm gonna go watch the 2004 Batman animated series. And I'll see y'all next time.